Hey guys, happy Saturday, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Hailey. I am a first year transfer student here at UCLA studying applied linguistics, and today I want to talk to you guys about what I wish I had known about UCLA before I actually decided to attend. These are the types of things that you won't even necessarily know until you actually experience going to UCLA, living on campus, yada yada yada. And I couldn't really find a lot of videos about this sort of thing on YouTube, so I decided to make one myself. Some of these things may seem fairly obvious to you guys, maybe not. I have never been to a four-year university before. No one has been to a four-year university in my family. My dad did go to college, but a long time ago. He's pretty old, so things are pretty different from when he was in college. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that I had to find out on my own, and I'm sure a lot of like first-gen students can relate to that. So without further ado, let's jump right into the list. One of the biggest problems that I've had since I've started going to UCLA is that it is nearly impossible to get the class schedule not only that you want, but you need. I have struggled with this several times now. I have enrolled in 3 quarters of classes. First quarter, I had no issues. I got the classes that I needed, but I did have priority because it was my first quarter attending UCLA, so I got priority consideration and all that stuff. Second and third quarters, so winter and spring, I pretty much have not gotten any of the classes that I needed. So there are classes that I really should have taken winter quarter that I'm not even going to be able to take until next fall, so fall 2019, that I should have taken winter 2019. And it's been really challenging. I'm very lucky to that my major is not super demanding and I have a lot of leeway with the classes that I can take, but I know for people who are a lot more limited for time or who have more difficult majors or majors with a lot of prerequisites that build upon each other, that is a problem. It's just such a huge school. My major also is not even impacted, but for people with impacted majors, it's going to be even more pervasive in your scheduling. So just keep an eye out for that. You probably will not be able to get the classes that you really want, and if you really need them, you probably won't be able to get them until later on in your, like senior year probably. Another really big thing is housing. So I think this is a hot topic no matter where you're going to school, but for those of you who don't know, UCLA guarantees 1 year of housing for transfer students because you're there approximately 2 years if you graduate on time. I found out freshmen get 3 years of guaranteed housing. So I kind of understand this. I do think it's a little unfair that they get 75% of their time here. They get to live on campus, and transfers only get half the amount of time that they're spending here because we already have like a limited amount of time here. The thing about on-campus housing is that it's extremely expensive. So now that I had to find a place to live off campus for my senior year, I realized that. So just be aware when you're going into things that you're going to be spending way more money living on campus than you would if you were to get like an apartment off campus and have some roommates. But I'm just kind of frustrated with the whole idea that it's pretty much impossible to get housing your senior year. Because it is a lottery system. So the way it works is that freshmen, first year transfers, freshmen through juniors all get considered for housing first. They get their offers, and then seniors get considered. So you may not even get an offer, and even if you do, it probably won't be until the summer. So it's extremely stressful in my opinion. I did end up finding somewhere off campus to live with my roommate Jessica, and we have a few other roommates, but that whole process was also really stressful. Just be prepared, like it's crazy looking for off-campus housing. You're competing against pretty much everyone else who lives in Westwood and goes to UCLA, and it is pretty expensive. Even though it's way cheaper than living on campus, it is still pretty expensive. For example, the place I'm living next year is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and it's $4,500 a month, and that doesn't include parking or utilities or anything like that, so it's still pretty expensive. Of course, we're splitting that between 5 girls, but keep that in mind. Along with housing goes parking. Just know that if you live on campus, there's a 99.9% chance that you won't get a parking pass. So you won't be able to bring your car. And that's something that I've struggled with a lot because, I have had a driver's license and a car for like 7 years now. So to come to college where I finally feel like an adult, like first time living life from home, and not even be able to drive somewhere if I need to, it's really frustrating. I literally have to Uber everywhere and it's not cheap. It's just annoying to not be able to go places when I need to go, when I want to go, where I want to go, and to have to rely on other people or, other methods of transportation. You can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that as a negative thing, like I just described, but you can also look at it from a positive perspective. For the most part, if you're living on campus, everything you need is on campus, and if there's something that you need that's not on campus, it's in Westwood. Westwood is the city that UCLA is in, and there's a Target, there's a Ralph's, there's like all this stuff, UPS store, Amazon pickup locker, all this stuff. So there is stuff within walking distance, but at the same vein, like you don't want to go buy a bunch of groceries. You probably won't be buying that many groceries, but if you were to like buy some snacks or whatever for yourself and then bring it back to your dorm, you don't want to go buy it and then have to walk all the way back up the hill with it or Uber with it. If you're doing that every week, it adds up a lot. But just so you know, like there is stuff within walking distance. The next thing that I want to talk about is kind of the transfer experience that I've had. Even though I appreciate that UCLA has like one of the best and biggest transfer communities and some of the best transfer rates from CC to UC in the UC system, there is still a lot that is left to be desired, and I think there's still a lot that they have to learn. And I personally feel like they definitely don't invest as much time in transfer students as they do in freshmen, and I honestly think that this is the experience at any college you go to. For example, I don't believe that it's fair that transfer students have a 1-day orientation and freshmen have a 3-day orientation. Just because I went to community college does not mean that I know how to navigate UCLA any better than a freshman would. Community college and UC are two completely different things, and there were a lot of resources that I did not get to know about through my transfer orientation that I found out about way later, and I'm sure there are some that I still don't even know about that I could really take advantage of, but I don't know about them because the orientation was not comprehensive and did not cover everything for me. You had from, I believe it started at 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. to figure out everything that you needed to do, get your classes picked, get your classes scheduled, and then enroll in your classes and all that stuff. In between, they kind of made you go to these mandatory seminars about consent and stuff like that, which I understand is important and is actually state mandated, but it would make it, I think, a lot more helpful for transfer students if they had as long of an orientation as freshmen, because the truth is we don't know what it's like to go to a four-year university. So we still need the help. And along with that, I think that it's kind of hard for transfer students to gain access to the information they need. Maybe it might be easy for transfer students who live in the transfer dorm. I personally do not live in the transfer dorm, but it's difficult. I feel like I come across freshmen who know more about what UCLA has to offer than I do, and it's frustrating. Financial aid, since I brought it up, I might as well talk about it. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically it's really hard to get a hold of a particular person in the financial aid office. If you call, you're on one of those automated voice machine things where they're press 1 for this department and press 2, and then half the time you press the button and it just leads you back to the main menu. So you can almost never speak to a real person. And then by the time you get to a real person, it's like a student who doesn't really know what they're talking about. They're just working in the office. They are not a financial advisor. They can't exactly help me with a specific situation that I'm in, and I've experienced this many times, and it's extremely frustrating. On top of that, I don't like that UCLA kind of made it seem like you can afford to go to UCLA, we're gonna help you out with this, and then every time I reach out to them, they pretty much just literally they tell me I'm on my own. For example, when I had my first housing payment due in summer 2018, I had a $3,000 housing payment due, and I was hello, I don't have this money, I don't know what to do. And they were well, you can borrow it from a family member. And I was if I had a family member with $3,000 just laying around that they could just throw me, do you think I would be calling you? They did not help me. They did not give me any information about external scholarships or external loans or private loans that I could get. So that was really frustrating for me because I've never done this before and I'm pretty much on my own, so I don't really know how to navigate all that stuff. I want to move on to more positive stuff that you may find surprising. So this is about resources and purchasing things that you need for the school year. So number one, you don't really need a printer. You can, obviously if you want one in your room just for convenience sake, feel free to do so, but there are printer stations literally all over campus, and you just load money onto your Bruin card, and I think it's like 12 cents a page, and you can print it, take it to class with you. There's some at the library, there's one at the study, there's multiple printer stations on campus, so if you are looking into getting a printer, but you're kind of on the fence about it, maybe come here, spend a quarter, see how you feel, and then get one later if you feel like it's still necessary. But I didn't have a printer when I first started. My dad actually gave me a printer as a gift, so that's cool, but you don't absolutely need one. Another really surprising thing that I found out this quarter is that you can rent iClickers and workbooks from the UCLA store. So when I say workbooks, I'm talking about like those textbooks that you write in or that come with a DVD or an access code. You can actually rent that from the UCLA store at a much lower cost, and same thing with the iClickers. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you have the newest model of the iClicker, as long as it functions, like, you're good to go. So definitely recommend that. Along with that, you can also get probably 90% of your textbooks, especially if you're in the College of Letters and Sciences, through the UCLA library system. I can do a more specific video on how that works. My roommate told me about that, and it's great. It's free, and I believe that you get to rent it for a longer period than if you rented it from the UCLA store, or if you rented it like on Amazon or eBay or something like that. Something that is really controversial on campus is the fact that student jobs get paid less than minimum wage. I have no idea how the university gets away with this, or it's illegal to pay less than minimum wage, but I've seen so many student jobs on campus that are like $13.25 an hour. Are you joking? Minimum wage is like $15. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they get away with it, but just beware. If you want to get a job on campus, you're probably not going to get paid a legal rate. So something that really surprised me when I started going here, and maybe this won't surprise you depending on how old you are, but you're not allowed to have alcohol of any kind on campus. So I'm 22. I'm not breaking any laws by possessing alcohol or consuming alcohol. So when I was told that I was not allowed to have alcohol in my dorm, I was kind of shocked, because it's just weird. Like, I'm of age, why can't I have alcohol? I understand that I'm also living in a place where there are people who are underage, but at the same time, like, I live by myself. If I want to have a glass of wine at the end of a long day, like, I should be able to. That's not to say that there aren't people who do drink alcohol and do like smoke weed on campus, because it happens all the time. You just have to be very like careful about it. If you're gonna do that sort of thing, but it's just weird to me. Like, I didn't really think it would be a problem, because not everyone is 18 years old when they're starting off here, but apparently you can't have it. They can't see it, smell it, or hear it. Obviously, don't walk into your residential hall belligerent drunk at night. Like, you're gonna get caught, you're gonna get written up. Same thing with smoking. Like, don't smoke in your dorm, the fire alarm will go off, you'll get written up. It's just a bad situation. So after all this is said and done, I'm sure some of you will be wondering, do I regret going to UCLA? The answer is no, I don't regret going to UCLA. These are just some things that I wasn't expecting when I started going here, so I want to make sure that you guys have the information. Most of these probably aren't things that are going to like completely sway your decision, for example, the alcohol thing or something like that, but it's something interesting to know if you're going here. So I hope that this kind of enlightens you about the transfer experience, the UCLA experience. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I will get back to you pretty soon. And then please like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Saturday at 3 p.m. about community college, transferring, UCLA, you name it. And I will see you guys next Saturday. Bye!